Okay, everybody, we're going to start the meeting. Sorry about that. We had some technical difficulties with the podcast. Okay, just getting started. We have some preliminary logo ideas we'd like to run by you guys and get some feedback on. These are made by a couple different people. Let's just start with the top left. Does anyone have anything they could change, anything they like about it specifically?
Can you pull up the Grizz logo?
Yeah.
I was gonna say the Great Wolf Lodge logo.
That too.
Yeah,
I like the tall one.
I suppose we're safe.
There it is.
There we go. Paw.
Yeah.
See, 4 toes versus 5 toes.
Yeah.
I can only count four.
That's it.
I think what they were going for is they were trying to avoid copyright with making it look like a bobcat paw, because we're not allowed to do anything to do with bobcats. So yeah.
What if you make one of the people in Bobcat design?
No, it's not because of Bobcat Motorsports. It's because of the school. Bobcat Motorsports was named that before they made that rule. So.
Have you talked to the school?
Yes. Yeah.
Two things. I think we should replace the paw with like something like 26 for the year that we're doing this, something like that, and we just change it every
Changes
year.
every year.
The other thing I was thinking is the text is, I'm just gonna flat out say I don't like the text.
Yeah.
So maybe switching those two things up, but generally just looking at it right now, I think the top left is probably the best. I would go out and say.
Yeah. Chris.
Just a quick thought, since this number kind of has some significance to our first year team. What if instead of a paw, we put the number 40 there?
It's possible, yeah. Yeah, we'll think about doing 40 or the year number. Yeah. Okay. And then on the right side, does anyone have any feedback for any of those ones? Which of the three do you like best? Yeah. Brad? What was that? Yeah, sure.
I was gonna say like the middle one because like the tire, like it looks, I don't know, the ones on the left side, the tire, like the wheel with the circle, it looks like a moon or a donut.
Yeah, like a donut. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, definitely take the snow-capped mountain off.
Yeah.
Doesn't match.
Of the mountains on actually all the different ones, what's your guys' favorite? Just for the mountains specifically. Yeah.
Can you type in? Would it be a nice design to cut the mountain before the wheel and then just continue like more into like that F1 design? Instead of using the front wheel as a mountain, literally just do the
Oh,
racing
on this
front
one.
wheel.
Yeah, like getting rid of the mountain aspect on this.
So we don't have to worry about the donut.
Yeah.
I'm hungry, guys.
Okay. And then, yeah, so do you guys like a more detailed design? Like we'll obviously make some iterations after this, but like for the helmet, do you like a more detailed design? Do you like it to be a little less detailed but as a color, or be like a solid color? Solid? Okay. Sounds good. Okay. Does anyone else have any other feedback on it? I think we're good then. Cool. Moving on. So the SAE chapter elections are going to be next week. Anyone interested in running that hasn't filled out the form, please do this.
Yeah, it's the same form that last week, so.
Yep. And then anyone who is going to run for one of these positions, just make like a 1 to 2 minute slideshow and presentation for next week. Just telling people, you know, your background a little bit and why you should be a leader in that FSAE chapter. Because yeah, currently it's not really doing anything, and we need them to funnel our money through, and in order to get some cool guest speakers out here. Yeah, it's also a great opportunity for like your resume and to take a leadership experience. Cool. Oh wait, before that, Logan.
Yep, so we're gonna start doing some material requests. So hopefully all of y'all have finally had time to start designing your things. So now is the time to figure out how much material y'all need, because we're starting to figure out that process. So, got a couple things. The first row, obviously your subsystem and your name. We need to be able to contact you if there's any questions. So that's why that's there. The material, of course, pretty obvious. The type, which is the shape of the material, or in the case of carbon fiber, how thick it is. Then dimensions, again, hopefully somewhat obvious. For carbon fiber, it is surface area, because that's what carbon fiber deals with.
Yep, and since we don't know what type of carbon fiber we're gonna get donated to us, we're just gonna go with thickness and dimensions so that me and Colt can figure out how we're gonna divide that up once we know the thickness of each flag. So yeah, you can fill this form out. If you happen to be talking to Colt or myself, you can just tell us directly as well. If you need something, this is for all subsystems, but especially air.
Yeah, and then of course, you know, what it's used for, and then if it is a common thing, online medals or McMaster-Carr, find a price and a link. If you can't, oh well, not too worried about it, but it's more so if you can get a price, that gives us a good estimate as far as the price.
Yeah.
So yeah, please, everyone, anything that's being designed, built, whatever, put it in here, please, because the sooner you get it in here, the more likely we will get it.
And so for the metal, we need that as soon as you can, but carbon does have a deadline. We need that by next Monday. Okay, so if you can get that in here by next Monday, then we can talk to sponsors and see about getting the amount we need. So, yeah.
Okay, and this is all located in 25, 26 in admin, and then it's just scroll down, material request. It is a Google Sheets. So, alright.
We can also post it in the Discord. Just
Yes.
we'll put it in general so you guys have easier access to it.
Any questions? Alright, I think we're gonna start with actually chassis, just for a quick minute, and then we'll go to Ergo.
Sounds good.
You're scared.
Kind of suffered.
I saw a finger pointing my direction. This is very warm now.
It's another short PDR. Go ahead, Ethan. That'll be fine.
Okay, not too many changes have been made this time either. Our roll hoop got quite a lot shorter. We're now down to 38 inches tall versus it was like 48 or more last year. So we're getting pretty low. Let me know if that gets in the way of anything. We raised up this rear node back here to allow for drivetrain's chain pathing. last thing we did was raise the front hoop by 1.5 inches for Ergo's dash. And that is it.
Have you tried to fit the engine back there yet?
Yes.
Does it fit nicely?
It's about the same as last year. It's a little bit more crunch since, well, that angle is going farther down, so if we need to go back up to 40 inches tall, totally fine.
40 inches like cardboard.
Can you go to the back of the car, near the engine area? Okay, so the rear main hoop supports, again, this is just a rules question, if you checked on the rules. Where they mount onto that rear node, can they, like, yes, is that legal? I'm not sure.
Yeah, this little like weld gap here, it's just a product of the trim and extend tool. We'll fix it before we go.
I'm not talking about the gap, I'm talking about specifically the placement, because if I remember correctly, wasn't there a rule last year, have to look back where it couldn't, the rear main roll hoop, or the roll hoop support could not mount to the node all the way on the back of the box.
I don't remember that rule, but if
Okay.
you find it, please send it.
Okay, got it, okay.
And we haven't found that.
Okay, got it.
Can anything mount to the back roll hoop?
These guys?
Yeah.
Very limitedly.
Okay, like can a bracket or anything go on there?
Like a bracket for what? Like the throttle cable?
For the differential.
For the differential,
How's it?
probably not to the main hoop supports.
Okay, stick to that back bar.
Yeah, stick to this back box, and if you need more structure back there, we can add more.
Can I put throttle support on those roll hoop supports?
I mean, we had it on there last year.
I
so
know, I'm just asking.
I just assume it's fine.
I haven't seen a rule change. Yeah, so, more so like if anyone else is trying to throw things on there, we have like 5 different sub-assemblies trying to put things on there.
Yeah.
It gets busy.
I know like the master shutoff switch needs to go on there, but other than that.
Has to go on that one specifically, or does it not go on the roll hoop? I forget where it is on the actual car.
It goes on this bar on the actual car.
Okay.
Because you could tell them the 2 options we have.
Oh yeah, but I also don't have like a good diagram of what's going on. I don't know. We also have, if drivetrain wants to make the engine removable, we have kind of 2 paths to make it removable. And that's either to make it so these 2 main hoop supports come out. It's not that hard legally to do. Or we can just make this cross brace drop out on the bottom. But kind of up to you guys.
So you said you've checked the legality of making, so both the cross brace and the rear main hoops, okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah, we looked at that a lot yesterday.
Yeah, I can imagine.
If we do something with the rear roll bar supports, there are a bit more rules that we'd have to like adjust to
Yes.
than like dropping out the bottom
Yeah.
cross brace. So it's just up to which way you want to be able to pull the motor out.
Okay. One thing to think about is if we do run into some sort of issue at competition where they're like, oh, it's like this needs to be welded. Then first off, this would also be a question to ask like on the FSAE website through the rules, what is it,
The
there's
question
this-
box.
Yeah, the question box. So pose that question as soon as you can. That
Yeah,
that
I
would
mean,
be
like
my
it-
first suggestion.
There's like a specific rules excerpt, like or
Yeah.
excerpt on specifically how to make these removable.
Yeah, and I would just, again, when we have like some final design, this is another reason why we would probably want to get the SES in sooner rather than later. Just so, you know, if they do say, oh, that's not legal, because that would probably get caught in the SES, right? Then, you know, we can correct that. But one more thing to think about, if it does get past the SES, and if we do get to competition and there is some issue with it, because that was something that happened with the radiator last year.
Yeah, we'll be ready to just hard weld it.
I would say I would say it would probably be better to be ready to hard weld the rear main hoop supports, not the cross bracing on the bottom. That's
Yeah,
that's
it
just
would
my
be
opinion.
easier to access.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be impossible, but it would be a lot harder. I've done a lot of crazy welding on
Yeah.
a race car,
Yeah.
and it's not the most fun, but you could definitely do it.
Yeah, you could do it, but you know, if we're thinking about time and we're thinking about, you know, if we have to weld on the bottom, it's gonna be we're gonna have to raise the engine up, and we're gonna raise the whole car up rather, and we're gonna have to, you know, we're gonna be welding very close to the engine, closer than probably any of us want to be welding to those components. So.
In the back.
You might have just mentioned it, but I was gonna say, if we did it on the bottom, then we have to pick the entire car up to get to the engine, versus if you do it on the back, you can just pull the engine out directly without having to lift anything up, so.
Yeah, and I
So
forgot
the
to
whole
mention,
point is
like,
keeping
my main benefit I see with dropping out the bottom is that we could build this bottom subframe into sort of an engine, like, stand, that we can just run the engine on by itself, and then we can build this subframe way before the chassis actually gets built. If we can make it a hot swappable, like, everything drops out, you know.
That would be really great, except we need to get the rules typed on that before we do anything.
Yeah, I mean, we've been looking and we can't find anything about it.
You know SAE.
Yeah.
Things can come up.
I'm working on motor mounts, and me and my teammate were kind of thinking that getting the engine out from the top would be a lot easier
Mhm.
than dropping it from the bottom. And so I think if you were to have like that separate subframe that can pop out the bottom, it would make it rather difficult for the upper two supports. So the engine has three main supports. It's got one on the back, or two on the back, and then one on the front, right underneath the exhaust. And I think that the rear upper and then the front one would be rather difficult to get it out to the bottom. How would you, I guess, get the engine out from the top?
For out from the top, I mean, either way, that's why I'm just like, that's why I didn't really plan on presenting these ideas today, is because, well, they're A, kind of complicated, and B, yeah, they're just kind of complicated, and maybe we don't need to focus our time on this right now, but, either way, we haven't, yeah, I guess it would depend on like which mounts we want to make part of the frame itself and part of the subframe. I don't know.
It's definitely might be more of a CDR conversation.
Yeah. Or we should probably talk about it before we get the CDR. Anything else?
Is there anything else you want to do to it, or do you think it's pretty close to being done?
I mean, there's nothing else we really want to change. Ergo's pretty constrained up front for like legroom right now with how low the driver position is, so we can't really shorten the front end at all. And then, yeah, that's about it.
Is that chassis, it looks very different than the chassis PDR assembly in the Google Drive. Is it?
Yeah, the roll hoop is just like 10 inches shorter, so.
But relative to the back of the car, it's in the same place?
Oh yeah, everything besides the roll hoop and this member right here has stayed the same.
Okay. people. Yeah, man.
Well, but the whole firewall would have.
No, you're good. We're just, okay, so last week, we went over. So last week we went over, pedal box, positioning, firewall, and I think that might have been it. This week we're going over shifting and steering column and dash. And so here's a picture of car 40 steering column. I'll put this in the big mode for you guys. Here's a picture of car 40 steering column. So we basically had these two U-joints in purple, and then 3/4 inch shaft deslotted, weld-on spline, and then these were steel spacers that we just like drilled out and then greased them up with like some white lithium grease. And then this is the steel adapter. So for the new steering column, that one worked, but so we're just gonna iterate off of that one. Try to drop some weight. The sheet metal in the old one was quite heavy, so this one is gonna have more likely tubes that come down, and then some sort of like billet or 3D printed adapter if we can prove that it's gonna be strong enough. We're not sure what material to use for that yet. And then it's also gonna have a bearing, so we don't have frictional damping in our steering. This will be more damping from tires and road feedback, and you'll get more driver feel that way over the friction that we had in car 40s. Yeah, it'll also be significantly lighter because that stuff is, the steel plate looks light, but it's a lot heavier than you expect it to be. Here's a little bit easier to picture view. So basically have the two bars that drop down. Dash, we can come back to it for dash. Dash is gonna have a screen that kind of places in between those two, but that's a topic for a bit later. And then a bearing inside there. And our tubes. Any questions so far? Chris?
So the steering column, one of the things that we ran into last year was as the steering column went down into the paddle box and all the mechanisms down there, the judges were concerned that our steering column had so many sharp edges on it and could injure the driver during the dynamic events. Do we have any plans to mitigate that?
More like the mount, like that welded.
Remember how we had to wrap the steering column in like fabric to
Yeah.
protect the driver?
Yeah.
Do we have any like more sophisticated design ideas than wrapping it in fabric? No? Okay.
You talk about sleeving it. We can sleeve it.
Okay.
Honestly, I haven't thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, Josh.
Are you guys still considering doing a top mount steering rack potentially, or has that been kind of tabled?
SSD. I don't know. I think your knees are gonna be in the way.
So,
SSD. Where's Logan at?
Logan's outside right now.
Okay. Anyone else from SSB? You guys are putting your steering rack on the bottom or on top?
I don't know. I
Okay,
heard
we'll
someone
talk about
throwing
that.
a top mount steering rack, and that seemed like a good idea just from not having a bunch of U-joints adding to that 7-degree slot.
Yeah.
And it also makes it smoother.
I would. Yeah, I'd be shocked if your knees fit if you put a top mount steering rack because it
Are we
kind of
that
runs under
tight?
your knees. Yeah, we're gonna be pretty tight in the top of it.
I mean, we're still at the point in like SSD design, we can make knuckle pickups where we want. If we want to have like a rear steer instead of a front steer knuckle, like you could tuck that steering rack almost up to the dash.
Yes.
We haven't entirely ruled out poor yet either.
Oh, there's also one more thing to talk about on this. On this guy, we're getting rid of this because it's unnecessary, it's already fully constrained. Yes?
How tight is the knee of the driver to the top of the chassis?
It's less close than that now. I don't know the exact number, but we raised the front roll hook, which gave us a lot more space in the knees, because we also dropped the driver lower.
Is the old one?
We'll be
just
fine
made
on
out of
getting out and
Right,
rising.
well, the
That was my main worry.
I was gone, so I don't know if this has been said already, but what, do you have that, correct distance between the driver's feet and the driver's hips? That, I think
It's, it's
615
over
now.
915 now.
It's what?
It has to be 915 millimeters.
Yeah.
It is over that now.
It's over, how much over?
I think it's 930,
Okay.
so about half an inch.
And this is, the driver's torso.
Those are old pictures.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't update the pictures.
Okay, I was gonna say, cause that was different than
Yeah.
what I saw.
And then one more thing on, oh, yes.
Yeah, I heard something about, the steering. Are we wanting to run front or behind the KPI for the wheel hubs, four-wheel uprights?
That's a good question. We'll have like the 35-degree limit of the U-joints. So this front line actually.
That's what I think we're wanting is front to possibly see about running, a little bit easier to have the option of running, negative camber, or negative, accurate.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Cool. And then one more thing on this, we have a solid, oh, sorry. Yes.
I had a question about the driver enclosure. Do you have an idea of how high you want the sidewalls with the driver enclosure? Yeah.
I haven't thought about that.
I would assume it's probably just about the height of the side impact structure there, maybe a tiny bit higher. Or outside. Yeah, it wouldn't need to extend much higher.
And then we're also gonna move the hollow tube. Right now we have super heavy steel, solid tube. And we're gonna move to a hollow tube because it's more structurally efficient. Like the mass is concentrated farther away from the neutral axis. Yeah, sorry about that question. Yeah, not sure. Dash.
Basically, we finalized we're going with fully digital, and with the ECU, there's a fully digital screen that we're gonna have that goes directly communicates with the screen, so that we'll have like the tack on it, we'll have everything on it, we'll have lights on it too for shifting. We can also put in like LEDs, but that's like a separate thing if we have enough time. And so what we're going with is a fully carbon dash that's going across, and it's going to be about 3.5, 4 inches down from the top roll loop. And then we're going to have like in the middle, we're going to probably take a little cut out of it, and in like this second, this over here, we're going to have the screen mounted more vertical so that you can have like the switches and stuff on the dash, and then have the screen more vertical so it's easier to see. And then having it connected with probably a metal bracer tab. Unsure what we're doing yet, but I mean that's pretty much it. I mean we don't. I guess we'll move stuff if we don't wear the like
Visibility for
the visibility of the screen. So I guess that's kind of like pretty basic. Yeah.
You decided on a final screen size?
I think it was 7 inches. Yeah. So not huge, but not small either.
So is the dash 3.5 to 4 inches like straight down?
It'll be at an angle, like in the second picture to the right. And we're not sure what angle yet, but at least some sort of angle.
So that, is that dimension like the length of the piece of carbon?
Yes, that's how long the carbon would be,
Okay.
like from the hoop. So,
Okay, cool.
and then we haven't figured out where we're gonna put switches yet. So yeah. Any other questions?
What kind of shift lights? Is it just like one light just to show when it's time to shift?
So I haven't looked exactly at like the code for the screen because it's like on the screen. So I think it's like multiple. Yeah.
whatever you want on these, like three options you can pick from and move stuff around on it.
Okay.
Touchscreen too.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool. 'Cause
so-
last I heard, it was gonna be very difficult to get, you know, different lights lighting up for each rev range.
Right, no, yeah. There's gonna be like, I think 7 to 8 lights, like, they're like, I guess, lights on the screen, that'll go, I think it starts like, I think we could change the colors if needed. It goes like green, white, red, or green, white, purple, I'm not sure.
Oh, is that stock with the?
I think so, I could
Okay.
probably look at it and let you know, but,
And
It's a directly integrated
Yeah.
system
With the
with the
ECU.
Speeduino, yeah.
yeah,
That's
so like, it's
awesome.
like on the screen.
That's great.
But we
Literally
can,
plug and play.
we can do.
Should be plug and play.
Should be.
But if you want to, we could do another like on top of the wheel. We could do with like an Arduino, just have like code our own LEDs and have those colors will be interchangeable as well. So
Okay.
and that's if we have more time.
Yeah.
To figure it out. So
I guess just what else besides the tack and the shift lights are gonna be on the dash?
it's really anything you want. There's obviously I haven't looked at it fully yet, but there's so many different options. You can
They
like
programmed a couple hundred different like options you can pick from, and then you can go to make your own like mix it all. You can add a tag,
It's
you
very
can down
customizable.
it's like touchscreen interface, you can move this around.
Awesome.
Have you thought about weather? Is the screen good for the rain?
Splash proof, it says.
So
What do you think, guys?
yeah, we'll probably make like a 3D printed case around it, and then also have like a visor as well for sun, so that's easy to see. So, yeah.
Or you could also think about putting some sort of like cover on the screen that's like matte, so it doesn't reflect the sun.
Or yeah, like a nano texture.
Yeah, yeah.
Any other questions?
Shifter? Yep, sorry. We're gonna be doing a pneumatic system with flushless downshift, very, very fast. We don't have a speed range because we need to do some calculations on how much pressure is required as well as how much what cylinder we need pretty much, under lever and paddle shifters on the wheel. We're not sure where on the wheel, whether they're part of the wheel itself or part of the hub for the wheel. That's to be determined. This is our.
Sorry.
Yeah,
go back.
Matt.
Didn't we decide on running electric?
We waited. We looked into the option, and there's a lot of. It's a weird system to run. Nobody really runs motors. There's only 3 documented teams that have done it.
I believe we looked into, I forget who, but stepper motors with a proper gear down system would be about half the weight, honestly, if not less, because of the air tank. Don't have to deal with air.
We did actually calculate the weight, and it's actually the motor itself, NEMA 24, with the torque. It's 23. It's either the same weight, if not more, because we were planning on using carbon fiber tank.
How are we getting the neutral?
How do we get into neutral?
Pneumatic shifter.
That comes later.
Well,
Okay.
It's on the
Did I
slides.
hear carbon fiber tank?
Yeah.
No, no,
I'm sorry.
It's airsoft. Airsoft tanks.
Airsoft
Okay, and they're pre-tested and they're guidelines.
They're charged up to like 4,000 PSI, so you can get hundreds of shifts within a small 11 km range.
Yeah, have you done any conversions for how many?
Roughly between, depending on size of tank, we can get a small tank, we can get a large tank. We don't have an exact number.
So going based off like other people's pneumatic systems, like just a small little tank gets you into thousands of shifts.
Okay, so we would just need to fill it once at the start of competition.
Yeah.
And then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, which those high pressure tanks, you have to have like a special.
We need to get a CO2 tank, like from a welding supply store, and then charge that one, because there's no way of compressing 4,000 PSI.
But also you wouldn't have to do it through the tank.
It'd be one stats of backup just to have. You had a question?
Yeah, can you explain the pew chart rating, why pneumatic?
This pew chart's actually old. Electric is electric solenoid. Pneumatic is our current setup, and then linkage is mechanical linkage.
Yeah, well, I was curious about why electronic is considered less reliable than pneumatic.
This is less reliable. This was back when we were looking at a pneumatic solenoid directly, that interfaces directly with the shifter, mechanism on the bike. And it's less reliable because of heat causes those, the directional solenoids to not function as well as they should.
Okay. Even between shifts, like it's not enough time to cool down the solenoid?
It might be. It has just been a struggle point with other teams.
Okay.
So other teams have documented that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much all the documented issues from electric is from switching to pneumatic.
Yeah.
Question?
Yeah, I do have a question. So, I think everybody who went to competition last year can agree that, especially when it came to the shifter, we had something great in concept, and then at the last minute it failed on us. So, my question to you is: this electronic, pneumatic, even a linkage system is relatively complicated given our budget constraints. So, do you have a backup plan? And
We do, in fact. We have a really good backup
implement
plan.
that backup plan like that?
Within, you think 20 minutes?
Yeah.
It should be a relatively easy swap.
And
Okay.
depending
What-
on the.
What is the swap though?
We can go ahead. It's a Michael shifter.
It's taking some of the complexity out of the Michael shifter and then just simplifying it, just as simple and dirty as we, well, not dirty, as clean as we can, just as simple as possible.
Okay,
Just
so
can't-
first off, I just want to point out, I love how you guys have named it the Michael, especially since you guys were here last year. Okay, so because that, I mean, I think the main issue with that system was that we had a very complex like shifter mechanism.
Yes.
And so I'm guessing that you guys have like
It's
taken
gonna be
that
very,
out.
it's gonna be
Yeah,
so simple.
weird. It's,
Okay.
The picture is very much the general idea of pull one way, go down, pull the other way, go up. Simple as that. We're not dealing with any of that weird stuff down below.
That's what I like to hear.
Are you still planning on having electronic signals through this?
It is possible, depending on, you're saying like for clutchless downshifts and upshifts?
Yes.
It is possible if the system that operates the clutchless downshift still works.
Okay. I'm just like thinking like if your pneumatics fail, but the ETC is still perfectly fine.
If that's fine, then yes, we could implement clutchless upshift now.
Do you have any sort of actual examples with this yet?
We tried it with that.
I started and then I ran out of time.
Okay, sounds good.
And that was before we finalized any general idea.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, I mean, obviously that's good. You guys can design the full pneumatic system, get that off into the videos, but then make sure you do have a full solid waste model with this, so that if we need to build it, which actually we will build it no matter what, if the system works, and bring it to comp, as well as the cable as well. So,
And then
yeah, just make sure you're on track to.
the pneumatic one right now, we're just waiting for Matt to figure out what action parts we need for the whole system.
Sounds good.
Go back to the original.
First one?
Yeah. How do you plan on integrating the solenoid valve and all the electronically controlled stuff into?
What do you mean integrating it?
How do you plan on controlling those?
Programming it?
Yeah.
Basically just send a voltage to the solenoid and it opens and sends air to it. It's very simple. We can run it off an Arduino if we want longer, shorter shifts, whatnot. We can put some complexity to it.
So you're throwing it off on ESYS?
What? Say that again?
You're like putting all the work onto E-Systems then?
I'd do it. You don't have to do it if
I'll
you don't
hold
want
you
to.
to that. Okay. That's fine, thanks.
How you guys will know if you should shift into the gear? I was reading about this, people had struggle getting, no way to know if you should shift into the gear, pneumatics, how to detect that.
That is a known issue. However, I feel like you'd know if it wasn't a gear.
Well, how's the car gonna know?
The car, it's either you don't go any faster or yeah, you blow it up or you go up.
It might become a bigger issue on like steering and making sure it actually is perfect section. You send it a signal, does it actually try to
Yes.
Yes.
So we battled this for 3 years when I was in FSAE. It will always miss shifts about 20% of the time, depending on the programming. And unless your driver knows exactly what gear they're in, what'll happen is, do you plan to have throttle cut or do you plan to have the driver lift?
Okay.
So what's gonna happen is they're gonna hit it, and it's either just gonna keep going the same speed, or you're gonna bog out of a corner, and then you have to like, you're basically like slamming it, trying to get to your gear. And then, I guess the other question is, so if it hits a voltage, can you hold it for longer to make it push into gear? Because that's another way you find neutrals, you can do like a quick paddle. And sometimes you can find neutral, and sometimes you don't. But usually we just find neutral by hand.
They can be really finicky to try and find neutral that way.
Mhm.
I think that holding the clutch is just a reliable.
Yeah.
Did you ever figure out the paddle shifters?
No, we went back to a hand shifter because it was faster and
So-
lighter and easier to work with.
The goal, sorry.
Yeah, I'm saying, like, so people have been using these for 20 years. Like, that's when I was in FSAE. So they can be done well, and they can be done not well. So it just depends. And then sometimes the tanks leak. More than one occasion we went out and all of a sudden you're out of air because it wasn't screwed on all the way, or the O-ring fell off, or something like that. So we would have like 2, 3 tanks of air just sitting in the pit, and then there would be that too. But it's really fun, but it is not without its challenges. So just be aware.
Okay.
The goal of the micro shifter is to work really well. It doesn't have to be pretty, but it has to be reliable and work well. So hopefully we can get that working really well first, and then while we are inevitably troubleshooting the paddles, we can still drive the car and whatnot. So does anyone else have any comments on that?
A lot of these tugs sound pretty expensive. How does that compare to $50 for the whole servo system would be?
The whole servo system will not be $50. We'll need
The
like,
motor's $20, the drive is $20, and the gearbox is
The
10.
motor is not $20. We're looking closer to 60 for one that provides enough torque.
You can go smaller with a gearbox. I got about 15 inch gears of torque, about $40.
Is that with the plastic gearbox or metal gearbox?
Metal gearbox.
Metal gearbox?
Chinese metal gearbox. That's just from a control system standpoint. I'm doing a lot of engineering to get this electronics working.
Yeah.
And controlling a servo, I can tell it to go this many degrees really easy.
No, that's true.
Compared to having to dial in your timing for solenoid, I think there's going to be a lot of challenges associated with that.
There is nice to have feedback on something.
Yeah, there's going to be challenges with this. We're not advanced. There won't be. Yeah.
Nothing good on Reddit.
Are you busy Friday?
I went to last week Friday.
You wanna come on Friday?
Yeah. Yeah, you guys can talk about this.
Yeah. But. Cool. Yes.
I don't know how you're gonna communicate with this E system to cut the throttle and press the paddle, because it sounds like it's gonna be a separate system.
I'm working on that right now. It's going to come with the paddles. Yeah.
You'll like wire into the paddles?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Cool.
Go over the clutch situation.
So, our clutch, essentially we're just gonna kinda like copy Michigan since we have our paddle system. You only really need that clutch to start. Theirs is kinda hidden up under the dash, up and out of the way. So we're thinking kinda along those lines, just primarily, and then when you're actually racing, use, the pneumatic system, and then with the backup, move it back over to probably the actual clutch. Yeah, on it.
Yeah, you could transfer from the frame onto our shift lever.
So there is a clutch?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be, with
Yes.
this current system, it'll be just to go just from neutral.
You say under the dash, where under the dash?
So in the video right there, that's literally just straight from the Michigan POV.
Sure.
It is, like the first 10 seconds, you'll see his hands kind of up over on the left side.
Okay, so like over this area?
I believe it's like vertical, because when you watch him take his hand off of it and start, go
Okay, I see,
straight
I
up
see.
like that.
Oh,
Yep.
Somewhat similar to how it is on the current car, just kind of a little bit more hidden away.
So instead of like down here, it's like up here.
Yeah, it's essentially just when we have a working clutch that's up and down, it's just to get started, and after that, it's out of the way,
Yeah.
not an issue.
Yeah, cool.
And then for the backup system, we'll be able to move it.
A little bit over the
And it does look like that's pretty much the same spot as ours, except their driver enclosure, it just covers it a little.
So one thing to think about is being able to shift it when you're holding that clutch. So you spin it and you kill it, and you're already in fourth. Or, yeah, maybe you're in like second. But you have to be able to clutch it bring it down, and then go again and restart. So it takes a lot of hands, as opposed to like when when the shifter is part of the clutch, you can pull the clutch and
Yeah.
use the same hand. So thinking about how you're going to restart when you've killed the car in a higher gear.
We actually, I believe with our bike, you can be in whatever gear you want.
And start it. Yeah, and then you wanna
Yeah, you
be in
wanna-
first or second to
Yeah.
get going again. Yeah.
So not hide it away too much.
Yeah.
Plan on having it on the left or right?
To be determined, I guess.
Yeah, I guess based on
What-
that.
whatever works best.
Yeah, you
Okay.
always reverse that.
Just so maybe you can reach both shifters with one hand.
We could probably work with it.
Yeah.
Sweet. Thank you guys. And then we got drive. Is it drivetrain for the next or is it?
It's just, but it is also time, so.
People having time?
Yeah, do we have time, how is everyone's time looking? Because it is currently 7, if we can take another 30, 40 minutes of your time, hopefully probably not that long, but.
Raise your hand if you have to go right now.
Alright, SSB. Oh boy, alright, it's already me, I guess.
No.
Yep, so our current design, still a little bit work in progress. The original design is a vertical KPI with near zero scrub radius. We are looking to maybe change that a little bit to have a little bit of clearance with having a really wide suspension A-arm. So the front is probably going to come out in a little bit here. This is actually the old wheel, so the hub is going to be a little bit different. The rear is completely up to date, so that'll be a lot easier to see. Again, there's the front hub. It's going to change. It's going to get bigger diameter and get a lot thinner along here, which will probably drop a pound off the hub. I forget what this weighs in its current state, but we'll just go for the rear, because that'll be a little bit easier to show. So this is the rear. As you can see, a lot thinner. We've already done some FEA initial. It's got plenty of safety factor for infinite fatigue life, or about fatigue life, so it's going to be actually overbuilt for what we're running, and it's currently 2¼ pounds, so lighter than my laptop. We're going to have integrated the tripod housings, just to make things a little more compact, lighter. I have to do a little bit more research and talk to drivetrain because they might know more, but we might have to actually harden that section. That is a maybe, but we'll see. I will get a definite answer on that. I believe we have the utilities to harden here on campus still, I believe. Yeah, so you can see all these 12 holes, I love them. We're gonna have some aluminum wheel pegs that are gonna be driven through the back. Interference fit to make sure they stay place. And the brake rotor is going to be put on all of these little half circles. Bearings are going to be back near the tripod housings. And unfortunately, the wheels are metric and everything else is SAE, so everything here in forward is metric, here in back is SAE. So, fuck everything. All right.
At least there's a clear divide.
There's a reason. And there's the current full assembly, well, minus we have attachment points for the uprights, for the suspension. We are looking to maybe bring the blower back a little bit to introduce KPI. We don't need KPI for the rear, but it's more so to get closer to zero scrub radius to help get less forces on the toe linkages. We're going to need custom nuts and custom sockets for the wheel nuts and the hub nuts. I think the only option of not building our own is buying things that are $1,000, which that's not an option. And then that's about it for that. Oh.
I know I asked this last time, but it has changed since last time. If you go back to the previous slide. So those points where you're mounting the brake rotor to the hub.
Yep.
Have Have you done any sort of
Yes,
analysis?
I did FEA. I need to do it again with a little bit more realistic numbers, but the numbers I put in should be conservative. But yeah, we're looking. The stress points again are so with 4340, which is what this is going to be made out of. Its yield strength is like 700 something thousand or 700 megapascals. And we're looking a stress concentration on the wheel pins and a small point on these points at about 320. Fatigue life is about 350, 330. So it is under fatigue life. I am looking at beefing it up just a touch more, just because it doesn't cost that much more weight to do it. But realistically, it's going to be the same stress concentration as the wheel flange. So.
So we got front suspension here. We're still looking at the push rod configuration, but keeping our mind open for maybe doing a pull rod. Just with packaging, it's kind of getting to a point where it might be a bit difficult. Right now, we're trying to get the packaging for the rockers set up inside of the frame itself. Again, that does just get a little bit difficult with the driver's knees. So, but we're looking to do that, looking to see if we can implement a heave spring with it as well, so we can kind of take stiffer spring for that heave spring and then kind of softer for the roll. Past that, we have a little diagram that's not working right there, but basically wheels go up and down. And our joints, we're looking to do horizontal ball joints for everything, and then just kind of make sure that we still have that 50-degree travel with it. Any questions? Thanks.
Wait, for the mounting of your rockers and your shocks, you said you want that fully inside of the frame.
We're trying to figure out how we can do it fully inside the frame, just to get off, like, not mess with aero at all.
Okay,
But,
I can speak for aero in saying that don't worry about it.
Okay.
Because the nose cone is kind of an aero element, but not really.
Mhm.
And like the air behind the nose cone is already going to go straight into the driver's face, like the main roll group and everything. So, yeah, you guys can mount it on top. We can cut some holes for that in the nose cone.
Cool.
The other concern with that was with the rockers. We're trying to get those in double shear, and it's hard. I mean, a lot of the other teams are just running really fancy bearings to use single shear, but fancy bearings cost lots of money.
Yeah. So,
On rear suspension, this will be a model of kind of just that rear square member. I've been trying to isolate it so we can get the best suspension, reduce scrub radius. This is kind of the design focus. Did we want to pick up the 3D model or just leave it at this?
You've got it somewhere.
Yeah, I put it in a folder as the demonstration for PR. Do I have it? Maybe not.
I thought I let you download it.
Here, I will.
Right.
It's not there.
We'll try it again. Just the rear. Pretty sure. You know what? Give me a second.
Yeah, but so far I've been trying to develop the geometry to work around differential placement. Hopefully I can reduce the angle as much as we can on the rear. I'm considering a 2.3-inch ride height, but I can change that depending on front suspension, where you guys want to put your roll center. We are focusing on having a, Josh, is it a higher rear roll center for pitch axis, or?
Yeah, we're shooting at our rear roll center a little bit higher than our front. But most of what we've been doing lately has been plenty connected off the chassis, which just got updated, so that's actually not the latest chassis.
So
the latest chassis makes it a little bit easier with our rear upper arms, but Yeah, we're scooting those up a little bit, and we've got the suspension behind that for our roll. We haven't really gotten to the pitch axis on the rear yet.
Yeah, but so far that's been in the works, being developed right now with the model. So sorry. Just no comment. Simple, just like that. I will be continuing development on it. Thank you, chassis, for making the bars level, because that makes my life a little bit easier on front suspension. The front arm that connects is angled a bit out, which will actually help us sometimes in compression and give us a bit of toe in, especially on bumps. And then for the second slide, I am in the works of if anyone needs to change the suspension based on, hey, we know differential is going to be put here for drivetrain. I have been making a, you can't see it very well. Green is going to be your green down here, talking about just working with differential. Where do I need to get as close as possible? But that lets you guys enter in values so that I can change this geometry to accommodate everybody and still give us proper like ground control. Any questions?
So I was wondering about, because the front pickups for the rear suspension are so far forward, where we can put like the radiator and the side pods and all that.
For like if we're gonna have enough room for the shocks, like, or if
So
we're
like
gonna be
because with the pickups there, will we have to put the side pods and the radiator in front of that? In front of the main roll hoop?
I can work around that. I would assume there's, I think there's going to be interference sometimes just because of the A-arms. I'm assuming, you're just talking about, again, those we're doing radiator pods on the side this year?
Yeah.
Yes. I can come up with multiple designs to work around that. If you guys can start developing a drawing of like, where do I need room, I can make that work. We've also been talking about raising the suspension off in case we want to do pods that go underneath for
Yeah,
the diffuser.
I saw a picture of that, yeah.
Yeah. That communicate with me. I'm Trevor Hoover, rear suspension on Discord.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's probably a lot easier to move the radiator compared to arms, especially with how much math goes into that. So push comes to shove.
Yeah.
We'll probably put on the cooling.
Technically it isn't a massive issue, because geometry it's very, I have a lot of freedom. My issue would just be the right height might go lower, which we have a limit of what what's the limit of our right height?
We're shooting for about 2 inches of suspension travel, and the way that's kind of set up right now, we have a 2.5 inch ride height from the bottom of the frame to the ground, or 2.3 inches about. So that gives us 0.3 inches of play, and I don't know if there's like 4 elements that need to get tucked under the car, but like our roll centers specifically are very sensitive to ride height. So I guess if Aero needs us to move around, like the sooner we have that conversation, the less we have to bake into the knuckles later.
So you're saying that at full suspension travel, the car is 0.3 inches from the ground?
Yes.
The bottom of the chassis?
Bottom of the chassis.
Aero needs more space than that.
Okay. How much?
Because the diffuser is gonna, at least the center of the diffuser is gonna need probably at least an inch
Okay.
under the rear of the chassis. That's not like a definitive number or anything, but
Okay.
Yeah, how much will that affect your close-ups?
I mean, we can redesign around that. It doesn't really matter where that is, as long as we have a number to work off of. In fairness, that is going to be a full travel, so I know with Aero, like that's probably, you probably don't want to be an extra 2 inches off the ground 90% of the time.
Yeah.
That changes your numbers a lot, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
So.
it will, yeah. Because we're in ground effect.
Yeah.
But
I did
Yeah,
have-
maybe we should, once we have numbers from safety.
I did have a separate design for these that, I kept the top mounts along the top bar. That changed the ride height to, I think, 3.3 inches. And I can work around that to make it a lot more, a lot better. The only issue is I need to work on the roll axis, but that I can accommodate.
Are you, actually, no, next week we're gonna see after next Monday, we should have some preliminary CFD, and we can give you some, like how much space we need generally. But that is also subject to change. Obviously, suspension is more important than aero, like in terms of making our car work and work well. So we can work around you more, but if you can give us a little more space.
I will say for that differential distance, so the main thing that we're dealing with the differential in terms of distance from the back of the chassis is the sprocket that's on the differential. And right now our sprocket is supposed to be 14 inches in diameter. That's like right about what we're at for the size sprocket that we're using. So that's gonna be about 7 inches from the back.
So far with the
From the rear.
model, well, if I could do it right, and SolidWorks didn't hate me. The left side, if you wanna, could you do the top view? Left side is 6 inches from the back right now, so it's
And it might be a little bit less than 7 inches. It might be a tad less because that sprocket's gonna go into the back of the chassis just a little bit. most likely.
This design should accommodate, I might actually be a little bit further on, I can check that, but I can make it around that region and you guys will
Okay,
have access.
but that's not like, that right now isn't hard set, that's where it has to be. Okay.
There's a lot of flexibility with it. This is just to show you where, that's the purpose of the spreadsheet.
Okay.
Is that this is the flexibility you guys have. You can message me or you can go in there and just message me.
Yep. And if it's like off by an inch, it's not a super huge deal because we're using CV axles.
Yeah.
You know, so.
What'd you say?
Sorry.
Is the difference between the left and the right side, those arms, is that intentional? Is that some different type of?
No, that SolidWorks just not really liking me. I had issues with the mating doesn't. I wasn't able to mate the front connections onto the rods. It went. So I'm gonna be redeveloping the design to be a lot more. SolidWorks doesn't like me, and I need to figure out how to make it work. But there will be a finalized design I will post of, or I'll add to the drive of how it should.
Cool. Awesome. Oh, I know that Brock had like a question about this. He's gone.
We can go grab him. He's just probably gone.
Oh, okay. I don't know if this has been resolved yet, but he was mentioning having your hind joints like this won't allow you to do, or like having your brackets like that specifically won't allow you to tune for
Yes.
anti-dive.
We're adjusting the hind joints to be horizontal to allow for some of that, and of course, rows for spherical bearings in the uprights most likely.
Actually, apologies for, these brackets are just stand-ins, and so is the hub. They're just stand-ins. This is just the A-arm design to show you guys in the geometry.
Cool. Okay. Sick.
Otherwise, that's not what I thought.
It's not a slideshow.
We're not a slideshow.